Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. We've got a lot of news to discuss in the world of Palantir today. Number one, we're going to be talking about stock action and really the market at a pretty green day. We're going to see what impact that had on Palantir. Number two, they put out a new video today with a Palantir partner we've known they've been working for as a client for a long time, which is Ferrari. I've definitely said Sudoku wrong. Everyone in the comments is going to flame me for that, but nonetheless, Ferrari, the car company, we're going to talk about that new video they came up with and why that partnership is so important. Then we're going to be talking about Databricks, a competitor to Palantir that has purchased the company for $100 million, and something on LinkedIn that a Palantir sales rep actually said about Databricks. I thought it was interesting to explore that. And then finally today, we are going to be discussing earnings, not my full earnings preview, but we do have shareholder questions from retail shareholders that are up on Say Technologies, which is a platform people use to ask these questions. And we're going to be looking at some of the shareholder questions I thought weren't really that good, but also some shareholder questions from retail that are phenomenal. And hopefully Palantir management will be able to answer those questions on November 2nd. Let's get into it. All right, first thing we'll start off with is price action. Not too much to say here, other than the fact that it was a very green day for the market. Palantir right now, $16.63, up 2.72% on the day. The main reason the market was green, honestly, that 10-year came down from 5% yesterday to around 4.8%. And then companies showed good numbers. 3M showed good numbers this morning. Spotify showed good numbers this morning. Coca-Cola showed good numbers this morning. Right now, after hours, Google down about 5% because they missed on their cloud revenue, but their numbers are pretty good. Microsoft up 5% or up 3.4% because their Azure growth in the cloud was up 27%. So Palantir yesterday, an aggressive decline down to 1520. It did seem like that was more macro related as every stock was down. But as we see the macro get better, Palantir inches back higher to that $16 range. And now we got earnings in a week, and we'll see, is $16 a base for Palantir that we can start building off of, or are we still susceptible to that $14, $15 range given some of the numbers they may announce or given more volatility in the macro? But as of today, pretty green day for Palantir. Okay, next thing we are going to talk about is a video that Palantir put out today. This was really interesting. Palantir for Ferrari Partners in Ultimate Performance. This partnership was done about 2 years ago, so I'm curious why they're putting out this video. I actually haven't watched it. I'm watching it in real time with you guys. And we're going to see what they had to say about maybe either reaffirming their partnership with Ferrari or showing off some new things that they're working on with this company.
In Formula One, being able to make split-second decisions with massive amount of data from the car sensor can mean the difference between winning and losing a race. I'm Fred Vasser, and I'm the team principal of the Scuderia Ferrari in F1. The F1 changed completely over the last 20 or 30 years. That it's obvious that now we are collecting tons of data, but not only on the car. For sure, we have the track operation with thousands of sensors on the car. But the issue is not to collect data. At the end, it's to do a good usage of the data.
Here in Maranello, in Ferrari, we have been designing some of the world's most sophisticated cars since 1947. And from the beginning, our research and development efforts have expanded our collective imagination, our, let's say, common understanding of what a car can be. At the heart of our research and development is the vehicle prototype. This allows us to dream up new concepts and then test their functionality, their reliability, and of course, their speed, their performance. Excellent cars are built from excellent prototypes, which is why my team is using Palantir software to digitize the way we conceive new vehicles. So we have deployed Palantir's vehicle testing system, which is allowing us to analyze data for 150 different prototype vehicles. And this represents hundreds of terabytes of fleet data that will pass to the platform every year. This will be done thanks to Palantir at an unparalleled speed, level of sophistication and automation. And this is really a game changer for us.
Il Vehicle Testing System ci permette di condurre test con maggiore precisione e con più velocità. Siamo capaci di analizzare dati che arrivano da tutte le vetture della nostra flotta prova. Ad esempio da dati che arrivano da sensori montati su specifiche parti dei nostri prototipi, oppure dai dati classici della telemetria, dopo ogni tipo di test. Il sistema ci avverte dell'insorgenza di eventuali anomalie e eventuali dati discordanti durante qualsiasi tipo di test, riducendo drammaticamente il tempo di diagnosi di un'anomalia. L'utilizzo di questo software ci permette di ridurre notevolmente il tempo speso per raccogliere, organizzare, ripulire e analizzare i nostri dati. Progredendo il nostro lavoro con Palantir saremo in grado di massimizzare l'utilizzo dei nostri dati tramite la creazione di sofisticati modelli guidati dall'intelligenza artificiale.
Palantir can really help Ferrari to push the boundaries of engineering excellence. So I'm looking really forward to what comes next in our collaboration.
Having seen Palantir software prove itself at the highest level of motorsport, we know we have a platform capable and worthy of our road cars heritage. It's the shared pursuit of engineering excellence that unites Ferrari and Palantir.
Okay, not bad at all with Palantir and Ferrari. This is on their website, Palantir for Ferrari, this updated new video they put out today. Palantir has been a partner of Ferrari since 2017, and Palantir provided its data management and analytics software to Scuderia, again, I'll get flamed in the comments for saying that wrong, I'm sorry, throughout the 2017 to 2022 Formula One seasons. So the reason I think they put out this video today is because, as you can see, this vehicle testing 2023, this is what the video was talking about. This is a new, I guess you can call it platform that they've unveiled with Ferrari in terms of different things that they're working on. Obviously, they've been a partner since 2017, but vehicle testing is one of the new things they put out. The Palantir vehicle testing system allows Ferrari to analyze prototype data from their fleet and to conduct tests with precision and speed. Hundreds of terabytes of data are ingested into Palantir from different sections of the Ferrari fleet, from sensor data on specific prototype parts to raw telemetry data after every type of test to metadata. The software alerts Ferrari to anomalies and outlier events during testing, dramatically decreasing the team's root cause investigation time. Using AI and LLMs, engineers can extract and analyze relevant information, map this onto vehicle sensor data, and prioritize issues for investigation. The data, the ontology, and all the analysis Ferrari performs on top sync to the cloud have fully customizable lineage and version controls. Palantir's platform allows Ferrari to spend less time on collecting, organizing, and cleaning their data and more time analyzing and making decisions on their prototypes. And that is why we got this new updated video from Palantir today. I'll link this website offering in the description so you can read more of what they put out today in regards to how they're working with Ferrari. But the other reason I think they announced this today is because of the advance of AI and LLMs. Obviously, Palantir with AIP is bringing LLMs into the mainstream, and they're connecting your ontology of an organization that they built with Foundry, and then they're bringing it to new business use cases that people can use in a much more significant and easier way to make their lives better. So when Palantir says they are ingesting hundreds of terabytes of data, finding root causes for why certain things are going wrong or going bad, and then using those AI and LLMs to extract and analyze the relevant information, meaning you literally type into a terminal, why is this happening, how is this happening, and then it's condensing all that data and then giving you the answer. That is where, in the context of Ferrari, which has been, at this point, 6-year partner for Palantir, there's another use case for AI and LLMs. What do you take away for this as a shareholder? Number one, it's just really cool to be working with Ferrari and actually being the backbone of why they're somewhat successful in the car world. Excuse me if I don't know exactly how successful Ferrari is. I don't keep up that much with F1 or all the other, the Grand Prix or whatever. I called it Grand Prix. Is it Grand Prix or Grand Prix? I have no idea. But the point is, it's really cool that they're working with a company like Ferrari. And on top of that, we're seeing the diversification of applications in regards to AI and LLMs. I mean, if it can help BP, if it can help Cleveland Clinic, if it can help Ferrari, who can't it help? And why isn't Palantir going after every single client in the world that they can eventually help with this? And I think that ultimately is your strategy. It's like, look, if we're helping race cars and we're helping hospitals, we can help anybody. This is our opportunity. Now it's just a question of them being able to do it. So from 2017 to 2022, they mainly focused on time series analysis. Now they're focusing on vehicle testing. That's why they put out this video today. And I think the use cases of AIP and LLMs is only going to get bigger and bigger and bigger over the next decade. Okay, next thing we're going to talk about is an interesting post I saw on LinkedIn, and it has to do with an acquisition that a Palantir competitor, Databricks, made. Now, Databricks is a very interesting company. Databricks is on the private markets. They just raised a round of, I think, another $500 million. They're valued at $43 billion, which is, I think, about $10 billion above Palantir's valuation. Global Vice President of Databricks said, today at our CIO forum earlier this year, customers asked us for help with data ingestion. Today, Databricks acquired Cryon Labs for $100 million. Post-integration, it will become even easier for customers to bring their data from Salesforce, Workday, Oracle into Databricks. Databricks doesn't do exactly what Palantir does. There are some overlaps in terms of where they compete, so that's why I would say they're a competitor in the SaaS space, but they're not exactly the same thing as Palantir. And this is a man named Chris who works at Palantir. I believe he is a sales exec. As you can see in his bio, is helping the world's most complex organizations leverage their data to drive impactful business outcomes. And here's what he says around Palantir. It's pretty wild that the biggest players in data science still don't have data ingestion or integration figured out. That's just table stakes for Palantir, and we've been perfecting it for 20 years now. How can you possibly expect to leverage data science to actually take business actions on your data in real time if you can't even access the necessary data? Obviously pointing to the point of, not a lot of data ingestion. Not to mention the ontology piece that is absolutely necessary. The other data scientists and data engineering platforms haven't figured that out yet. This is why analysts continue to say that we're years ahead of our competition. Now, a couple of takeaways I want to talk about from that LinkedIn post that we just saw. Number one, the ontology is one of the core differentiating factors between Palantir and a lot of other software companies. The fact that Palantir has created an integrated ontology and a lot of those competitors don't have it, that is one of the differentiating reasons for why Palantir is able to offer such a succinct view of your data and a better ingestion of that data in a meaningful way for an organization. Number two, Databricks has acquired 2 companies in the past 6 months. Number one, Mosaic ML for $1.3 billion. Pretty big, $1.3 billion of an acquisition. I mean, like that's a very, those are like Google, Microsoft are spending that type of money, right? So that's a pretty big acquisition for them to do. And really, Mosaic ML was essentially AI infrastructure. You could kind of think of it as like the stuff Palantir uses to power AIP. And then Acryon Labs today to help with data ingestion for $100 million. I think this again points to the superiority of a company like Palantir when you think of them as a shareholder. I mean, you've got companies on the private market that are valued $10 billion above Palantir that are having to acquire companies to help them not only ingest data, but then make sense of that data, i.e. Acryon Labs and then Mosaic ML. And so what I'm seeing with Palantir is we haven't done an acquisition since 2016. I actually did a video a while ago of all the different acquisitions Palantir did. For the past relatively, 13, 14 years, Palantir has been innovating and creating products inside of their own company, meaning they're hiring the best talent in the world. That's why stock-based compensation was high in 2020. It's starting down to normalize. And they tell that talent to just go make stuff that works. That's really cool. That to me is a reason to invest in Palantir. I mean, that's a bull case. We heard from Snowflake, remember a couple of months ago, they acquired Neeva, which is an LLM search engine for the enterprise, $150 million, and they announced a partnership with NVIDIA to bring LLMs to the enterprise. Where is that partnership? What updates have been made on that partnership? They didn't talk about it on the earnings call. Where is Neeva? How have they integrated that technology? What clients are using it? Are you throwing a Snowflake conference like Palantir threw at AIP to be able to show clients actually using their AI platform? Like, where is this? What's actually happening here? When you acquire companies, there's a lot of logistical concerns of acquiring another management culture, another type of talent, a whole host of people that don't know anything about your company, bring them in, and then hopefully figure out how to put all of them together, amalgamate some type of product that actually works. It's not an easy thing to do. And the reason companies do it, like a Microsoft acquiring Activision Blizzard for $70 billion, is because you need to find ways to grow inorganically because you've become so big that now you need to, acquire other companies to help you grow. Databricks, Snowflake, they haven't gotten too big. They're, $40 billion, $50 billion market caps. They're not like the biggest tech companies in the world. The fact that they're having to acquire at this stage, I'm not saying it's a red flag or anything because obviously those companies are phenomenal, amazing products, thousands and thousands of customers, amazing growth. But it does goes to show you a company that's valued less than them, like a Palantir, less than Snowflake and less than Databricks, is not having to acquire anyone. We're growing customers 50% month over month in regards to our premier AI product, which is the reason those companies are even acquiring all these other little players in the first place. And we're innovating internally within the company. That to me is a major reason for why Palantir is ahead of the competition in regards to innovation. And now if we can just execute on the business side with growth, then I think from the tech side and the business side, there is a very good future in the world for Palantir because we don't have to acquire companies. We actually have to build them. And Alex Karp has said this many times that like when companies become stale, they start acquiring. When companies have a robust, innovative culture, they innovate. And they make new products and they put them out into the world. Last thing we're going to talk about are shareholder questions on Say Technologies, powered by Robinhood, of course. Some questions that came out from shareholders. We're going to look at the top voted questions, what retail shareholders want to know. And I'll give some of my thoughts on the ones that I think are good and the ones that I think could be a little bit better. So Brandon S., a retail shareholder, asks, at what point would Palantir consider giving a dividend or increasing share buybacks? And again, these questions, management are probably going to answer some of these questions. The ones that get to the top, management at least has an understanding of like which questions do retail shareholders really care about. But that's why this platform is important to kind of compile those things. In terms of share buybacks and a dividend's probably not going to happen for a while because we're a growth company and you don't give a dividend when you keep growing. In terms of share buybacks, we're going to find out on November 2nd if Palantir is doing any share buybacks. So they authorized $1 billion. We don't know if they're actually going to, if they did any of those share buybacks. For example, Netflix just repurchased $2.5 billion of their shares last quarter. We'll see. Out of that $1 billion, did Palantir buy any? If I had to guess, I would say Palantir bought none. quite frankly. I think they are waiting for like 11 or 12 to really do aggressive buybacks. I don't think they're buying at 16, 17, but I could be wrong. Maybe we did like $300 million of buybacks, and maybe that's what kept the stock in this $15, $16 range. So we'll see what they have to say. Lewis says, I've heard whispers that Palantir might be included in the S&P 500 by 2024. Are there any truth to these rumors? Is it a priority at the higher ups for Palantir to make it into the S&P 500? Again, these are not rumors. This is more so a question of if they can become GAAP profitable. They are likely going to be GAAP profitable in this earnings on November 2nd. So Palantir will be making it into the S&P 500 by 2024 as long as all the other requirements are met, which currently they are meeting those requirements and more than fulfilling them. I think this question, is it a priority for the higher ups at Palantir to make into the S&P 500? I think the answer to that question is yes. The priority for the higher ups at Palantir is to make sure the stock price goes up, right? Like core executives, that's how you keep employees happy. That's how you keep the business running. All that, like that's how you keep liquidity. Like you need to make sure the stock goes up. Getting to the S&P 500 means people have to buy the stock, means the stock will marginally go up theoretically if you're in more indices, or if you're in the biggest index in the United States, because people have to buy your shares and get allocation to your company. So I think it is a priority for Palantir higher ups to make it there. Dustin says, given you have products for military and commercial use, do you plan on creating an AI program for single users in the general public? This is essentially that consumer product. Is Palantir coming out with this? I think Palantir has not yet even touched the maximization of their potential for the enterprise and for the government. So it would be very interesting if they had any plans for a consumer product. I don't see them as a consumer company at all. I don't think they want to get into the consumer monetization, and then you have to deal with, like, essentially you become a company that's to deal with consumers, and that's not the culture of Palantir. They're not a Snapchat, they're not a Facebook, they're not a Google. So I heavily doubt they're coming out with any consumer product anytime soon. But a decade from now, after they've dominated the enterprise, maybe they can. It's just, in the meantime, I personally don't see it. Daniel says, Microsoft looks to compete in healthcare and presumably other sectors in the near future. Why will Palantir win customers over Microsoft, which is already heavily embedded in many business functions? That's actually not a bad question. Look, Microsoft came out with their Fabric software. They're talking about implementing, new things in healthcare. I think the answer is very simple in terms of Palantir's optimization with their healthcare clients, especially their healthcare clients, and what they're doing that is a lot more differentiated in regards to Foundry from some of the stuff Microsoft is basically building on the side. It's not their bread and butter. They don't care about it. It's just something for them to sell to the enterprise. They have a million different products. I would love for management to actually speak directly about big tech and how you're competing with them, especially Microsoft. But we'll see if, they answer that type of question. Sham kind of answered this question on the Kathy podcast. He basically said our technology is years ahead because we've been there for the past 2 decades. So even though those companies have distribution, we are also an incumbent, essentially, because we have the tech. The question becomes, can you scale the tech with the distribution to be able to get business outcomes? Another question about consumer products. Again, I don't think that's coming anytime soon. Anthony says, do you see Palantir collaborating with other technology-driven companies like Amazon or Tesla? That's a fun question. We do collaborate with AWS with a lot of different products we have on the AWS marketplace. We announced one for manufacturing back in June. In terms of Tesla, that's always something that we're just going to hope we eventually get an answer to. And then Robbie says, going forward, how much do you expect AI to play a role in earnings? I think they expect AI to help them a lot in earnings, because if AI is not helping them in earnings, then they're probably not growing AIP as much as we want them to grow. So, overall, I think these earnings questions are okay. My biggest question for management is, how do you plan to scale the go-to-market strategy for AIP? If I had to ask one question, I'm like, all right, you're doing these boot camps. What is the success of these boot camps? Why do you think they're working? We saw that article you put out. You seem to be very confident about it. How can you 10x these boot camps? Like, how can you have a boot camp every single week in every single part of the world? That would be my question for management, because that is the level of execution you need for a Palantir AIP customer count to explode. And as a result, revenue explodes. And as a result, this company really takes off. So my single question, the only question I really care about, how do you explode your go-to-market strategy on AIP? And that's it for me. Thank you guys for listening and watching. Let me know your question you would ask to Alex Karp and Sham Sankar if you were on that earnings call. Put it in the comments, and we'll see some of those questions and what you guys think. Thanks for listening and watching. I'll see you guys tomorrow on the next one. Bye, everybody.